Why, hello, little ones. It's a pleasure to see you again. Have you been well since the last time that we were together? I do hope so. We care ever so much about each and every one of you. That's why we created the safe space, so that no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can come someplace safe and sit and listen to our stories. Now then, speaking of coming to the safe place, what is this over here? It appears that little Bo Peep has brought a whole lot of sheep with her to the safe space. And who's this? There's a brave knight defending her, isn't there? But what else do I see? Each and every one of those sheep has a name written on it. Would you like to see what their names are? All right then, let's have a look. I see Christopher and John and Christopher D and Jack and Evelyn and Claire and Elliot and Amelia and Sarah and Mia and Timmy and Sierra, Kai, Dodie, Oscar, Beep, Oscar. Let's see, that one is Raja. We have Evelyn, Lammy, and Ash. Excellent names, aren't they? And do you know what? They're your names. Your names on the wall. Each and every one of those sheep is one of you, because we want you to be here in the safe space. And so, now you are, and you're part of it. So thank you to your older brothers and sisters for allowing us to put your names up in the safe space. Now then, this time I thought we might read the wonderful Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, being that it's nearly Christmas, and I thought it would make a special present as you've all been so terribly patient waiting for me. But whatever have I done with it? It's not over here by the castle, and it's not over here by Bitsy and Betsy. Wherever could it be? I know. Let's have a look in the chest, shall we? Excuse me, Mr. Bear. We'll have to move you temporarily. Isn't he a lovely bear? He's so terribly pink, and he has this perfectly lovely heart with a terribly important word written on it. Do you know what that word is? Yes, very good. It's love. L-O-V-E. Love. And that is a terribly important word to remember, because you are loved. All right, Mr. Bear, we'll set you right there momentarily while we take a look in the chest. What's this? More books. And sure enough, here's the book that we're looking for. Oh dear, it seems to have lost its cover. That would be because it's terribly old, but we wanted to read it especially to you because it's the one that we read when we were little. So, Mr. Bear, we'll have you hold that temporarily while we go ahead and close up the chest, so you'll have a place to sit and listen to the story too. Up you go. Excellent. Now then, are you ready? Do you have your favorite blankie or stuffie or your favorite toy? If not, go and get them. We'll be right here waiting for you. Have you got them now? Excellent. All right, everyone gather around, snuggle up, and put your best listening ears on as we listen to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer by Barbara Schulkhazen, adapted from the story by Robert L. May. Pictures by Richard Scarry. Once there was a reindeer named Rudolph, who lived at the North Pole in Toyland. Rudolph was younger and smaller than the other reindeer there. They all had proud, tall antlers. Rudolph's antlers were only tiny stubs. Worst of all, Rudolph had a nose that was big and bright red.
It was so red it glowed in the dark. Poor Rudolph! He wanted to be like the other reindeer in Toyland. Oh, to have a small brown nose instead of a bright, big red one. The other reindeer made fun of Rudolph and called him names. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they teased over and over again until tears glistened on Rudolph's large red nose. Sometimes the other children made a circle around Rudolph and sang, red nose, it's a funny sight, big as an apple and twice as bright." They kicked up snowballs with their tiny hooves and covered Rudolph with a blanket of white, fluffy snow. All the reindeer loved to play games. They played tree tag and snow slide and tumble bones. But Rudolph was never asked to play. He stood behind a pine tree and watched. He was very lonely. Rudolph couldn't even play hide and seek with the rabbits. His glowing red nose gave him away every time. Before Christmas Eve, Santa's elves posted a sign on the gate to Toyland. "Santa's team choosing time," the sign said. All the reindeer were asked to line up at 8 o'clock in the meadow. Santa Claus was coming to choose the team that would deliver presents to every good little boy and girl in the world. The reindeer fairly danced with excitement when they heard the news. They pranced and tossed their antlers and pawed the snowy ground with their hooves. Each reindeer hoped that he would be chosen to guide Santa's sleigh. It was the greatest honor a reindeer could ever have. Rudolph sighed. He was ashamed to have Santa see his bright red nose. So he decided to hide. At 8 o'clock, when all the other reindeer had gone to the meadow, Rudolph hid in a toy pirate chest that the elves had built. It had a very heavy wooden lid and big brass hinges. No one would find him in there. In the meadow, all the reindeer in Toyland, except Rudolph, stood in a line while Santa inspected them. Santa chose carefully. Only the fastest, the strongest, and the best reindeer would do.
"I think Dasher will be fine. He's the biggest reindeer," said Santa.
"Dasher," wrote his elf assistant in a big book.
"And Dancer is the strongest,"
said Santa, pulling his beard. "Dancer," wrote the elf.
"Ho, ho! Let's see," continued Santa. "Here's Prancer and here's Vixen. They make the smoothest landings on rooftops. Comet is the fastest, and Cupid is the most sure-footed," said Santa. "I pick them. And last," said Santa, "I choose Donner and Blitzen. They're best at twisting over treetops and skimming over telephone poles."
The reindeer in Santa's team were very happy. They rubbed noses. They danced and clicked their antlers together. Even the reindeer who weren't chosen were given good jobs. One was to try out electric trains. Another was to cuddle Christmas kittens. The only reindeer without a job was Rudolph. He wanted to help, but he knew he would only be laughed at. So he stayed hidden in the toy pirate box. At last it was Christmas Eve. Santa and his elves were busy packing the sleigh. "I don't care if they do make fun of me," said Rudolph suddenly. "I want to help too." He jumped out of his box. "I'll bring Santa's team a nice pail of cool water," he decided. "They'll get thirsty on their long journey." The night was bitter cold, and a terrible fog covered all the earth. Santa's elves kept bumping into each other as they hitched up the team. They could hardly see as they put on each bright red harness and tied each jingle bell. To make matters worse, Dasher and Dancer were fighting over who was to be the lead reindeer. "I was chosen first," said Dasher, stamping angrily. "But you always trip over the moon," said Dancer, kicking a falling star. Even Santa was cross.
"We'll never get there if you two don't stop quarreling," he said. "And where's my Christmas list? Dash it all! I can't see a thing in this fog."
Just then, a soft red glow lit up the snow. "Thank goodness," said Santa, suddenly jolly again. "I've found my list. Ho, 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 ho! I must have tucked it in my belt." "Who brought this fine lantern?" asked Santa. "I must take it with me. Why, I can see perfectly now." "It's not a lantern," said Rudolph, trembling. "The light comes from my nose." "Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer," said Santa, "I'm certainly glad to see you. Your light will guide my sleigh tonight. I appoint you the head of my team and #1 reindeer in all the world." Rudolph held his head high. Proudly he pranced to the front of the team. All the other reindeer bowed. Donner and Dancer helped Rudolph put on his harness, and Cupid gave him a beautiful sprig of holly berries. Then down, down, down through the clouds and over the sleeping houses, Santa and his team flew on that foggy Christmas Eve. And leading the whole procession was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So, if you see a soft glow in the sky on Christmas Eve, you can be sure that Rudolph, the most famous reindeer of all, is very near. The end.
Wasn't that a lovely story? Poor Rudolph, picked on by all the other reindeer, all because his nose was different. Why else would they make all of those nasty games and nasty rumors? Well, it's because people and reindeer tend to be afraid of things that they don't understand. They couldn't see at first just how special Rudolph was, how much that he wanted to help Santa's team and everyone else. Perhaps if they hadn't been so nasty and had been willing to look past his bright red nose, they might have found that Rudolph was a fine fellow after all, instead of having to find it out the hard way as they did. Santa wasn't fooled. He saw Rudolph's worth, and in the end, despite all of those nasty things, despite all of the other reindeer picking on him and bullying him, he triumphed in the end, not in spite of his difference, but because of it. Well, that's all for this time, little ones. We'd like to thank your older brothers and sisters for allowing you to come and listen in the safe space. Now, before we go, we have 3 very important things to remember, don't we? And I thought it would be an excellent idea if we said them all together. So, always remember that you are loved, that you are strong, and that you are not alone. I'm Percival. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.